in the economic recovery of the country, but also key recommendations for human rights defenders. As we commemorate today the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we also need to remember how groundbreaking this document is, this international commitment to the rights of all people, affirming that these rights are universal, independent, and indivisible. And you know, this document is the most translated document in the world. It's translated in over 500 languages, and as you know, it's also in Sinhala and Tamil, but 500 languages we have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The declaration is also really important as a catalyst for the 2030 agenda of sustainable development, inspiring progress by advocating for a fairer and more humane world, delivering social change. And you know, so much work remains to be done to achieve, to accomplish the great principles and objectives that are enshrined in this declaration, especially today, as the Secretary General has said today, commemorating the Universal Declaration in his message for Human Rights Day. He said that human rights today are currently under assault, citing global inequalities, intensifying conflicts, hateful rhetoric and discrimination and division, and international law being willfully ignored, starting with permanent members of the Security Council. In Sri Lanka's constitution, particularly Chapter 3, reflects the inspiration drawn from the Universal Declaration. We are certainly very encouraged by the new government's statements, by the new government's commitment in its manifesto during the campaign, in its declaration of policy in Parliament. We're really encouraged by the commitment to prioritize human rights, by its commitment to address corruption, to strengthen institutions and rule of law, to ensure social justice, to promote national unity and integration, and the strong words against hatred, against divisive rhetoric. And certainly we are encouraged by many of the first measures that the government has taken over the last few months. And we're certainly encouraged because the government is seeing this not only as the right thing to do, but also these strengthening rule of law, strengthening institutions, not only as the right thing to do, but also as a fundamental condition of recovery that has the planet and people at its center. We need economic recovery that prioritizes human rights, that invests in social protection, in basic social services, and in social welfare. We need a particular focus on the most vulnerable. We need a particular focus on marginalized people, especially those who have suffered from systematic discrimination, which drives disinvestments and increases vulnerability. I want to emphasize how the United Nations stands by your side and how we are committed here in Sri Lanka in accompanying the government, the authorities, in advancing its priorities and meeting its human rights obligations. We are here to accompany, we're here to encourage, to support with technical assistance, resources, in building bridges between communities and amplify voices, especially those of the most vulnerable, and support the struggle to redress human rights violations. But these efforts can only be sustainable if the government takes them seriously, if support for strengthening rule of law, support for institutions, respect for the rule of law is not a sideshow that you do for the press on a Friday afternoon, but is the core part of exercising power, of exercising your responsibilities as the authorities. And this can only happen building trust with government, with population, and building trust with citizens. And so I certainly encourage you to keep your voice, to keep, of course, it's the responsibility of the state to uphold, to protect human rights, but it's also all of our responsibilities to speak up and to speak up loudly. Thank you again to the Commission for organizing this annual event. Thank you.
The keynote address for today is titled Our Rights, Our Future, Right Now.